Nobody cared about the poor cleaning lady feeling sick until the billionaire's daughter did something unbelievable. The elevator climbed slowly to the 15th floor, and Chloe pressed her nose against the mirrored glass, watching the numbers change. Her blue eyes sparkled with curiosity as she held tightly to her father's large hand. "Remember what we talked about in the car, Chloe?" Tom adjusted his tie for the third time. "Daddy is going to be in an important meeting. You stay in the lobby, draw a little, and then we'll leave." "Okay." The little girl shook her blonde curls. "But can I explore?" "Just the lobby, deal." The doors opened with a soft chime, revealing a world completely different from the cozy apartment where they lived. Here, everything was glass, steel, and haste. The marble floor reflected the ceiling lights, creating an almost magical atmosphere for the eyes of a 6-year-old child. Tom handed a small pink backpack to Chloe. "Your colored pencils and paper are in here. Sit in those armchairs right over there, okay?" She nodded, but her eyes were already captured by the frantic dance of the office. People dressed in suits walked quickly, talking on the phone, carrying important briefcases. It was like watching a movie in fast forward. "I'll be back in an hour." Tom kissed the top of his daughter's head. "Behave." Chloe settled into the leather armchair, taking the colored pencils out of her backpack. But instead of drawing, she just watched. There was something fascinating about that constant movement. The people looked like busy ants, each with a specific mission. A man with grey hair walked by carrying 3 cups of coffee, spilling a little on his way. A woman in high heels was talking so loudly on the phone that Chloe could hear every word about quarterly reports and sales targets. A young man with glasses rushed towards the elevators, nearly tripping over his own feet. It was then that she saw her. Amidst all that movement, one figure moved differently, slower, more tired. It was a woman with blonde hair tied in a simple bun, wearing a light blue uniform. She pushed a cleaning cart, stopping now and then to wipe tables or collect abandoned cups. Chloe didn't know her name yet, but there was something about that woman that caught her attention. Maybe it was the way she worked in silence, almost invisible to everyone else. Or maybe it was because she looked sad, even when she tried to smile as someone passed by. The little girl put her pencils aside and focused her attention on the cleaning lady. Mary was cleaning a large table in the center of the lobby, where someone had left scattered papers and a cup with coffee dregs. Her movements were precise, but slow, very slow. Suddenly, Mary stopped. She leaned one hand on the table and the other on her forehead. Her face, which was already pale, turned even whiter. Chloe frowned. Something was wrong. Mary tried to take another step, but her legs trembled. The cleaning cloth fell from her hand. She leaned heavily on the table, breathing with difficulty. It was at that moment that something happened, which Chloe would never forget. Mary wavered, her knees buckled slightly, and she almost fell to the cold marble floor. And no one saw, or if they saw, they didn't care. The man with grey hair passed right by her, still carrying his coffee cups, talking loudly about an important client. The woman in high heels continued her phone conversation, gesturing dramatically. The young man with glasses didn't even glance in Mary's direction. It was as if she were a ghost, but Chloe saw. And her child's heart couldn't understand how so many people could simply ignore someone who clearly needed help. Mary stumbled and almost fell to her knees. Her hands were shaking, her face as pale as paper. "Daddy, help me!" Chloe shouted, looking desperately towards the elevators where Tom had disappeared. But he couldn't hear her. He was too far away, closed in a meeting room. Mary leaned against the table, fighting not to faint. Between ragged breaths, she murmured softly, "I haven't eaten anything today." Chloe heard. Even without fully understanding what it meant, she understood it was something very serious. Without a second thought, the little girl got up from the armchair. Her pink sneakers made a soft little sound on the marble as she ran to her backpack, grabbed her unicorn-decorated water bottle, and ran back to Mary. "Drink this." Chloe held out the bottle with urgency, as if it were a magic potion that could fix everything. Mary looked at that small child, with her blonde hair shining under the office lights, offering her water as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, sweetie." Mary accepted the bottle with trembling hands. Chloe did something even more unexpected. She took Mary's free hand and held it firmly, as if she wanted to pass some of her strength to this woman who seemed so fragile. Mary took a small sip of water, feeling the cool liquid go down her dry throat. It had been hours since she had drunk anything. In fact, it had been hours since she had put anything in her mouth. But Chloe heard, and even without fully understanding what it meant, she understood that it was something sad, very sad. "Why?" she asked, with the brutal honesty that only children possess. Mary looked into those blue eyes, so much like her own, full of genuine concern. How could she explain to a 6-year-old that sometimes adults have to choose between eating and buying medicine for the people they love? How to explain that the world isn't always fair? "Sometimes grown-ups forget to eat when they're very busy," Mary said, trying to smile through her tears. Chloe frowned, clearly unconvinced by this explanation. In her house, no one ever forgot to eat. There was always food in the fridge, always someone asking if she wanted a snack. "That's silly," Chloe declared with the simple logic of a child. "Eating is important. Your tummy rumbles when you don't eat." Mary chuckled softly, a sound that hadn't escaped her throat in weeks. There was something magical in the girl's simplicity, in the way she saw the world without complications, without the layers of cynicism and resignation that adults carry. "You're right," Mary admitted, gently squeezing Chloe's small hand. "Eating is very important." They stood there for a few minutes, hand in hand, in the middle of the busy lobby. It was a strange scene, a mini-executive and a cleaning lady, connected by a moment of pure humanity, while the corporate world continued to spin around them, indifferent. Mary felt different. For the first time in months, someone had seen her, really seen her, not as the woman in the blue uniform who cleaned the tables, but as a person who deserved care, who deserved attention. And Chloe felt something she couldn't name, but it made her want to protect this kind woman with sad eyes. She felt she had found something special, something the hurried adults couldn't see. When Tom finally came down from the elevator, he found his daughter sitting next to Mary, showing her a drawing she had made. 2 figures with yellow hair, one big and one small, holding hands under a smiling sun. He didn't immediately understand what was happening, but something in his chest tightened when he saw the expression on Chloe's face. She looked complete, as if she had found something she didn't even know she was looking for. And so, without any of the adults fully understanding, the first seed of a friendship was planted that would forever change all of their lives. An unexpected connection, born from the purest and simplest kindness that exists in the world. The ability to see another person, truly see them, and to care. The simple gesture of a child offering water to someone in need had created something much bigger than any of them could have imagined at that moment, and it was only the beginning. Chloe woke up that morning thinking about Mary. As she brushed her teeth and put on her favorite little blue dress, she couldn't get the image of that kind woman with sad eyes out of her head. She had slept poorly, tossing and turning in bed, thinking about how Mary had said she hadn't eaten anything the day before. How can someone not eat anything? The question hammered in her 6-year-old mind, which did not yet understand the complexities of the adult world. "Daddy, are we going to your work again today?" she asked during breakfast, stirring her cereal in the milk with more enthusiasm than usual. Tom looked surprised. Chloe had never shown interest in accompanying him to the office before the previous day. Usually she preferred to stay with the nanny or play at home. "I really have to. I have some important meetings." He took a sip of his coffee. "Why are you so excited to go?" Chloe shrugged, trying to seem casual. "I like drawing there. It's different from home." Tom smiled. Maybe his daughter was finally becoming interested in the world beyond toys and cartoons. "All right then." But today I'll leave you in your own room, with a big table for you to draw on. It will be more comfortable." Chloe's heart leaped with joy, but she tried not to show it. Perfect. If she was in a room, it would be even easier to go out and look for Mary. On the way to the office, Chloe carefully observed every detail of the route she hadn't noticed the day before. She counted how many traffic lights they passed, memorized the stores on the corner, and noted the floor number. Everything could be useful. But the most important thing was in her lunchbox. While Tom was taking a shower that morning, she had run to the kitchen and prepared an extra sandwich. Whole wheat bread, ham, cheese, and a lettuce leaf, exactly how the nanny made it for her. She wrapped it all in plastic wrap and placed it at the bottom of her lunchbox, along with a red apple and a juice box. "This is my office for today," Tom said, opening the door to a small but cozy room with a large table in the center. "Here you'll have more space to draw, and no one will bother you." Chloe looked around. The room had a large window overlooking other buildings, a bookshelf with thick books, and a swivel chair she immediately wanted to try. "Will you be okay here alone?" Tom asked, a little worried. "If you need anything, just press this button on the desk. It will call the secretary." "I'll be fine, Daddy." Chloe was already taking her colored pencils out of her backpack, spreading them on the table as if she were about to start drawing immediately. "My meetings will last all morning. Don't leave the room, okay?" Tom kissed the top of his daughter's head. "And if you need anything, press the button." As soon as the door closed, Chloe counted to 10, then to 20, then to 50. When she was sure her father was far away, she put the colored pencils back in her backpack, grabbed her lunchbox, and went to the door. She opened it slowly, peeking into the hallway. It was empty. Perfect. Her pink sneakers made as little noise as possible as she walked through the corridors. Trying to remember the way to the lobby, she passed several rooms with closed doors, from which came muffled voices of people in meetings. She passed a break room where a woman was making coffee without noticing her. In the elevator, she pressed the button for the ground floor and waited anxiously. When the doors opened, revealing the bustling lobby she knew from the day before, her heart raced with excitement. Now, where was Mary? Chloe walked through the lobby, trying to look natural, as if she had every right to be there. She observed every corner, every person who passed by. There were a lot of people, but none of them were Mary. That's when she heard the familiar sound of wheels on the floor. She turned and saw the blue cleaning cart being pushed by a familiar figure. Mary was at the back of the lobby, cleaning a table near the decorative plants. Chloe practically ran over, her lunchbox swinging in her hand. "Mary," she called softly, not wanting to draw the attention of others. Mary looked up and her blue eyes widened in surprise. "Chloe, what are you doing here, sweetie?" "Looking for you," Chloe answered with the typical honesty of children. "I thought about you all day yesterday." Mary's heart ached. It had been so long since someone had thought about her, since someone had cared. "You should be with your father, shouldn't you?" "He's in a boring meeting." Chloe waved her hand, dismissing the importance of the matter. "But I brought something for you." Mary tilted her head, curious. Chloe opened her lunchbox and took out the wrapped sandwich, the apple, and the juice. "This is for you, but don't tell Daddy." The words came out in a conspiratorial whisper, as if she were sharing the world's biggest secret. Mary looked at the food in her hands and felt her eyes fill with tears. No one out in her 42 years of life had ever prepared something specially for her with so much care. No one had thought of her needs in such a pure and selfless way. "Chloe, I can't accept your food. You need to eat." "I already ate a big breakfast," Chloe lied without hesitation. In truth, she had only had a few spoonfuls of cereal, too anxious to find Mary. "Sorry, and I have more things in my lunchbox. This is just for you." Mary held the sandwich with trembling hands. "But what if your dad finds out?" "He won't find out. It's our secret." Chloe smiled, and for the first time in days, Mary smiled back. A real smile, which lit up her tired face. "Thank you, my angel," Mary murmured, unwrapping the sandwich. "So you don't know what this means to me?" Chloe sat on the floor next to Mary's cart, watching her eat. "Is it good?" "It's delicious," Mary said, and it wasn't a lie. Maybe it was because she was very hungry, or maybe it was the love with which it had been prepared, but that sandwich had a special flavor. "I made it," Chloe said proudly. "Well, the nanny taught me, but I chose what to put in it." They sat there for a few minutes, Mary eating and Chloe telling her how she had gotten up early to prepare the lunch. It was a sweet scene, a 6-year-old child taking care of an adult, reversing the natural roles of the world. "Chloe," Mary said after finishing the sandwich, "you're very special, you know that." "Why?" "Because you see people. Really. Most people look at me and just see someone who cleans things. You see me as a person." Chloe frowned, confused. "But you are a person." "Yes, but not everyone remembers that." Mary's answer was too complex for a child's mind, but Chloe caught the feeling behind the words. Someone was being unfair to her new friend, and that made her angry. "That's silly," she declared with the innocent indignation of children. "Of course you're a person." "A very nice person." Mary laughed, a sound that was starting to become familiar. "Thank you, sweetie." "Mary," Chloe said, playing with the strap of her lunchbox, "can you be my friend?" The question was so simple, so direct, so full of hope, that Mary felt something shift in her chest. A feeling she had forgotten existed, the feeling of being wanted. "Of course I can," she replied, extending her hand for a formal handshake. "Friends forever." Chloe shook Mary's hand seriously, as if they were signing an important contract. Friends forever. In the following days, that ritual repeated itself. Chloe developed a perfect system for escaping whatever room her father left her in. She would wait a few minutes, walk out into the hallways as if she knew exactly where she was going, and always find Mary somewhere in the building. Sometimes Mary was cleaning bathrooms on the 3rd floor. Sometimes she was organizing the break room on the 7th. Sometimes she was in the basement, washing the parking garage floor. No matter where, Chloe always found her. And she always brought something, a cookie, just a piece of fruit, a juice box, sometimes just a drawing she had made especially for her. Mary began to look forward to these meetings. For the first time in years, she had something to look forward to during the day. Someone who cared if she was okay, if she had eaten, if she was happy. "And what did you draw today?" Mary asked on a Wednesday chance, when Chloe appeared with a colored paper in her hand. "It's you," Chloe said, proudly showing her work. "Look, this yellow hair is yours, and these blue eyes too, and here you are smiling." Mary looked at the drawing. It was simple, like all children's drawings, but there was something in it that touched her deeply. It was her, but a happy version of her, a version that smiled, that had flowers around her, that looked at peace. "Can I keep it?" she asked. "Of course. I made it especially for you." Chloe handed over the paper. "You can put it on the fridge, just like my nanny does with my drawings." Mary folded the drawing carefully and put it in her uniform pocket. It would be the first thing she would put on her fridge at home, the first decoration she'd had in years. "Chloe, tell me something," Mary said, curious. "What's your house like?" "It's big," Chloe answered thoughtfully. "It has a garden with flowers, and my room is pink, and there's a big TV in the living room. But sometimes it's very quiet." "Quiet how?" "Daddy works a lot, so it's just me and the nanny likes talking on the phone more than with me." Chloe shrugged. "That's why I like coming here. You're here." Mary felt a pang in her heart. This little girl, who had everything she could never give a child, was lonely in her own way. She needed attention, affection, someone who would really listen to her. "And what's your house like?" Chloe asked back. Mary hesitated. How could she explain that she lived in a tiny apartment, that most of the furniture was broken, that sometimes she didn't even have money to pay the electricity bill? "It's small," she said finally. But it has love." "Love is important," Chloe agreed solemnly. "Mommy always said that before. before she went away. It was the first time Chloe had mentioned her mother, and Mary noticed there was pain in those words. She didn't ask questions. She just reached out and stroked the girl's blonde hair. "Your mommy was right. Love is the most important thing in the world." They were silent for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. "Mary," Chloe said suddenly, "do you have children?" "No, sweetie, I never have." "So can I be like your borrowed daughter, just when I'm here?" The question was like a punch to Mary's gut, but a sweet punch, full of possibilities she had never considered. "Tat, would you like that?" "Yes, and you can be my special friend. We can tell each other secrets and do things friends do." "And what do friends do?" Mary asked, amused. "They talk, laugh, share food, draw pictures together." Chloe thought for a moment. "And they take care of each other when one is sad." Mary looked at this extraordinary child and wondered what she had done right in her life to deserve meeting her. Chloe was like a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day, like fresh water in a desert. "Then, we are official special friends," Mary said, extending her pinky finger. "Pinky promise?" Chloe linked her pinky with Mary's. "Da pinky promise." And so, day after day, their friendship grew. Chloe would make up crazy stories about princesses who saved dragons instead of being saved by them. Mary would talk about the birds she saw from her window at home, about how each one had a different personality. Chloe asked questions about everything: why Mary worked so much, if she liked cleaning, what her favorite color was, if she had ever seen the ocean. Mary answered patiently, happy to have someone interested in her life for the first time in decades. Slowly, Mary started to laugh more. Her steps became less heavy. Her eyes, once always on the floor, began to look up. She would catch herself smiling while working, remembering something funny Chloe had said. The other employees started to notice the change, though they didn't know the reason. Mary seemed lighter, more present, as if a dark cloud that had been hanging over her had dissipated. And Chloe discovered that having a special friend made the days at her father's office the best part of the week. She could barely sleep the night before, anxious to see Mary again, to share a new story or a new drawing. It was a sweet secret they shared, hidden among the corporate hallways and meeting rooms. Her pure friendship, based only on mutual affection and the need they had for each other. Mary found in Chloe the daughter she never had. Chloe found in Mary the motherly attention she missed so much. And together, they created their own little world, where age, social class, and differences didn't matter. All that mattered was that they cared for each other. And that, they discovered, was more powerful than any social convention or corporate etiquette rule. Their secret was safe, for now. It was a rainy Thursday when Chloe found Mary in the 5th floor hallway, organizing her cleaning cart. The girl had become an expert at figuring out where Mary would be at any time of day, as if she had memorized an invisible schedule. "Hi, Mary," Chloe said softly, approaching carefully so as not to attract the attention of the employees rushing past. "Hi, my angel," Mary replied, with the smile that had become automatic whenever she saw Chloe. "How was your morning?" "Boring," Chloe sighed dramatically. "Daddy left me in a room with a bunch of old magazines. It was all grown-up stuff." Mary chuckled as she sorted the cleaning supplies. "And what did you do?" "I looked out the window and counted cars on the street." Chloe sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, watching Mary work. "Mary, can I stay here close by while you work?" "Of course, sweetie. But stay sitting there so you don't get in the way of people passing by." Chloe adjusted her blue skirt and watched Mary spray cleaning product on the windows. There was something mesmerizing about the repetitive motion, the careful way she cleaned every corner, every drop left on the glass. "Mary?" "Yes?" "Do you like working here?" Mary paused for a moment, considering the question. It was complicated to explain to a child that work sometimes isn't about liking it, but about necessity. "It's an honest job," she said finally. and it helps me take care of someone I love. Oh, Chloe swung her legs, lightly tapping her heels against the wall. Daddy works a lot too, but I think he likes his work more than being with me. The words came out in a melancholic whisper that made Mary stop what she was doing completely. She turned to look at Chloe, seeing for the first time something beyond the constant joy in the girl's blue eyes. Why do you think that, sweetie? Chloe shrugged, trying to act like she didn't care. He's always busy. Even when he's home, he's on the phone or the computer. And when I talk to him, he just says, uh-huh, without even looking at me. Mary felt her heart ache. She knew what it was like to feel invisible, but she had never imagined that a 6-year-old could know that feeling too. I feel so lonely. Daddy just works and never plays with me. The words came out in a sigh so deep it seemed to come straight from her soul. Mary put the cleaning cloth aside and knelt in front of Chloe, getting down to the girl's eye level. Chloe, look at me. The girl looked up, and Mary saw a sadness there that shouldn't exist on a child's face. Your daddy loves you very much, you know that. Sometimes grown-ups get so worried about working to give their children the best that they forget that the most important thing is being together. But he never has time for me, Chloe murmured, fidgeting with the hem of her skirt. I have time for you, Mary said softly, reaching out to stroke the girl's face. And you know what else? You'll never be alone as long as I'm here. Chloe looked at Mary with a mix of surprise and relief. It was the first time someone had really heard her loneliness, that someone had cared enough to stop everything and pay attention just to her. You promise? I promise. Mary held Chloe's small hands in hers. And you know what else? Every time you feel lonely, just come find me. Even if I'm working, I'll always have a little time for you. Chloe's eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of relief. Thank you, Mary. No one has ever said that to me before. Mary felt something break and rebuild inside her chest. How could such a small child carry so much loneliness? How could adults be so blind as not to see that she needed attention, affection, someone who would truly listen to her? Come here. Mary opened her arms, and Chloe threw herself into them without hesitation. They stayed like that for a few minutes, hugging in the hallway, while employees passed back and forth, oblivious to the moment of human connection happening right there, by the window. Mary, Chloe said, still in the hug, can I tell you a secret? Of course, my angel. Sometimes I pretend you're my mommy. Just in my head, while we're talking, Mary felt her eyes sting. And can I tell you a secret too? Chloe pulled back a little to look into Mary's face. You can. Sometimes I pretend you're my daughter, and you know what else? I feel like the luckiest mom in the world when I think that... Chloe smiled, and it was as if the sun had come out after days of rain. So we can pretend that together. We sure can. It will be our special secret. After that day, something changed between them. The friendship gained a deeper, more intimate layer. Chloe started seeking out Mary, not just to escape boredom, but whenever she needed comfort, someone who would really listen to her. And Mary discovered that taking care of that little girl filled a void she never knew existed in her life. Mary, do you want to hear the story I made up today? Chloe asked on a Friday, when she found the cleaner in the third-floor restroom. I do. Tell me. Chloe sat on the floor, crossed her little legs, and began with the seriousness of a professional storyteller. Once upon a time, there was a princess named Marilyn who lived in a very beautiful castle, but no one saw her. Everyone in the kingdom passed by her as if she were invisible. Mary stopped cleaning the mirror to give her full attention to the story. But one day, a tiny little fairy named Chloelina appeared, who had a magical power. She could see invisible people, and when she saw Princess Marilyn, she said, "Hi, why are you so sad?" "And what did the princess answer?" Mary asked, already smiling. She said she was sad because no one ever talked to her, never asked if she was okay. Then the fairy Chloelina said, "I'll be your friend and I'll make you laugh every day." Chloe paused dramatically, just as she had seen in the movies. And did it work? Mary asked, playing along. It worked. The fairy Chloelina told jokes, did silly things, and brought magical snacks for the princess. And do you know what happened? What? Princess Marilyn started to glow, because when someone feels loved, they shine from the inside. And then everyone in the kingdom started to see her too, because she wasn't invisible anymore. Mary felt her eyes well up, and they became friends forever. Forever and a day. Chloe clapped her hands. "Ja, did you like the story?" "I loved it," Mary said, her voice a little hoarse with emotion. "It's the most beautiful story I've ever heard." "It's about us," Chloe said with the simplicity of someone stating a universal truth. "You're Princess Marilyn and I'm the fairy Chloelina." Mary knelt down again in front of Chloe. "You know your story is true, right? I really do feel less invisible since I met you." "Really? Really? You reminded me that I matter, that I have value." I had forgotten that a long time ago. Chloe was thoughtful for a moment. Grown-ups forget important things sometimes, don't they? They do. Lucky for us, we have children like you to remind us. In the following days, Chloe began to invent a new story for each meeting, always with the same characters, the invisible princess and the fairy who saved her, but with different adventures. Sometimes they saved injured animals, sometimes they helped other sad people. Sometimes they just had magical picnics in enchanted gardens. Mary began to eagerly await these stories. They became the highlight of her day, moments when she could forget her worries, the bills to pay, the accumulated fatigue. For a few minutes, she was just a friend listening to the fantastic adventures of an imaginative child. "Fine, Mary," Chloe said on a particularly difficult afternoon, when she found the cleaner standing in the hallway, looking out the window with a sad expression. "Are you okay?" Mary tried to smile. "I'm just a little tired today, my angel. Do you want me to tell you a special story to make you feel better?" "Yes, I do." Chloe sat next to Mary on the small bench in the hallway and began, "Once upon a time, there was a princess who was having a very hard day. She had to do a lot of chores in the castle, and she was very, very tired. Then the fairy Chloelina appeared and asked, 'Princess, what can I do to make you feel better?' Mary smiled for the first time that afternoon. And what did the fairy do? The fairy said she was going to give the princess the most special gift in the world. And do you know what it was? What? A magic hug that made all the sadness go away. Chloe stood up and opened her arms. "Can I give you a magic hug, Mary?" Mary didn't hesitate. She pulled Chloe into a tight hug, feeling how this little child had the power to actually make her worries diminish. "Did the magic hug work?" Chloe asked, still in the embrace. It worked perfectly. When they separated, Chloe looked into Mary's eyes with a surprising seriousness. "Mary, I wanted to tell you something important." "Tell me, sweetie." "I want you to be my friend forever, not just while I come here with Daddy, but forever, forever. Even when I grow up, even when you get old, even when we're far apart." The words touched Mary so deeply that she felt as if something fundamental had changed inside her. For the first time in decades, someone wanted her to be a part of their life. Someone saw her as important, as worthy of lasting love and friendship. Chloe," Mary said, holding the girl's face in her hands, "to me, you are already my friend forever. And do you know what that means?" "What?" "It means that no matter where we are, no matter how much time passes, I will always be here when you need me. I will always remember the special girl who taught me that I am not invisible." Chloe smiled, but Mary saw tears in the child's blue eyes. "Why are you crying, sweetie?" "It's not sadness," Chloe explained, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "It's happiness. Sometimes we cry from happiness too, right?" Mary laughed, also with tears in her eyes. "Yes, my angel. Sometimes happiness is so big it has to come out through our eyes." They sat there a while longer, on the hallway bench, watching the office bustle. But now it was different. They were no longer just an invisible cleaner and a lonely child. They were true friends, with a connection that went far beyond the circumstances that had brought them together. For Mary, Chloe had become proof that her life had value, that she deserved love and attention. For Chloe, Mary had become the first person who truly listened to her, who cared about her feelings, who made her feel special. And they both knew, even without being able to express it in words, that this friendship had changed their lives forever. No matter what the future held, they would always have those precious moments, those hallway conversations, those magical stories, and those hugs that healed invisible wounds. They had found in each other exactly what they needed, someone who made them feel important, seen, loved. And that, they discovered, was the greatest treasure two people could share. Tom was making breakfast when he noticed something different. Chloe came down the stairs humming a song he didn't recognize, her blonde hair still messy from sleep, but with a smile on her face he hadn't seen in weeks. "Good morning, Daddy," she said with an animation that surprised him. "Good morning, Princess." Tom looked at his daughter as she sat at the table. "Did you sleep well?" "I slept great." Chloe picked up her toast and began to spread jelly on it enthusiastically. "I dreamed I was flying in a magic castle with a very nice princess." Tom frowned. Chloe always had an active imagination, but lately her stories were becoming more elaborate, more happy, and she was different, more communicative. "Who was this princess?" he asked, sitting next to her. "Oh, a princess I know. She's very kind and has blue eyes like mine." Chloe bit into her toast. "Daddy, can I go to your work again today?" There was another strange thing. Before, Chloe always complained when she had to accompany him to the office. She said it was boring, that she preferred to stay home with the nanny. Now she asked to go almost every day. "Of course you can. But why are you so excited to go to the office lately?" Chloe shrugged, trying to seem casual. "I like drawing there, and there are interesting things to see." Tom watched his daughter finish her breakfast. She was definitely more talkative. Over the past few weeks, Chloe had started telling detailed stories about her days, about imaginary characters, about adventures she claimed to have had. It was a welcome but intriguing change. In the car on the way to the office, Chloe chattered the entire trip. She talked about a book she was reading. She couldn't read well yet, but she made up stories by looking at the pictures, about a little bird she saw on the window, about how she thought clouds were made of cotton candy. "Daddy," she said, as they were almost there, "do you think fairies are real?" "Fairies?" Tom smiled. "Why the question?" "Because I think they exist. And I think they help sad people become happy." "Maybe," Tom replied, not giving it much thought. "Your imagination is very active lately." "It's not imagination," Chloe said with conviction. "It's true. I saw it." Tom glanced in the rearview mirror. Chloe was looking out the window with a dreamy expression he didn't recognize. There was something in her voice, a certainty that made him wonder what exactly she was talking about. At the office, Tom left Chloe in the usual room with her colored pencils and paper, but this time he decided to watch. Something was going on, and he wanted to find out what. "Stay here and draw, okay? Daddy will be in a quick meeting on the floor above." "Okay, Daddy," Chloe replied, but Tom noticed she barely looked at him. Her eyes were fixed on the door, as if she were waiting for something. Instead of going up to the meeting immediately, Tom hid around the corner of the hallway and watched. It didn't take 5 minutes for Chloe to leave the room, look both ways carefully and walk toward the elevators. Tom frowned. Where was his daughter going? He followed her discreetly, keeping his distance. Chloe got into the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor. Tom took the next elevator and went down too. When the doors opened in the lobby, he saw Chloe walking with purpose, as if she knew exactly where she was going. She wasn't lost or confused. She was heading to a specific place. Tom hid behind a pillar and watched. Chloe stopped near the decorative plants at the back of the lobby and waited. Waiting for what? A few minutes later, a woman in a blue uniform appeared, pushing a cleaning cart. The cleaning lady. Tom knew her by sight, but he had never paid much attention to her. And then he saw something that completely surprised him. Chloe ran to the woman with a huge smile on her face, as if she were meeting her best friend. The cleaning lady, he didn't even know her name, lit up when she saw Chloe, bending down to be at the girl's eye level. They talked animatedly. Chloe gestured, telling some story, and the woman laughed, really laughed, heartily, as if Chloe had said the funniest thing in the world. Tom watched, fascinated, as his daughter took something out of her backpack and offered it to the cleaner. It seemed to be food. The woman hesitated, but Chloe insisted, and she eventually accepted it. For the next 20 minutes, Tom watched a scene that left him completely confused. His 6-year-old daughter was having the most animated conversation he had ever seen her have. And with whom? With a cleaning employee he barely noticed when he passed her in the hallways. Chloe told stories. The woman listened with full attention. The woman said something, and Chloe responded with enthusiasm. They laughed together, shared food, and Tom got the strange impression that he was watching a true friendship. A friendship between his daughter and an adult she clearly had known for some time. Tom stepped away from the pillar, his mind processing what he had just seen. This was it. This was why Chloe was different, happier, more communicative. She had made a friend. But what kind of friendship was this? How had it started? And why had Chloe never mentioned this woman? Over the next few days, Tom began to watch Chloe more closely. He paid attention to her stories, her drawings, her mood swings. "Daddy," Chloe said during dinner on a Wednesday, "what do you do when you have a very special friend, but you think others won't understand?" Tom stopped chewing. "What kind of friend?" "A friend who is different from you, but who understands you very well." "Different how?" Chloe thought carefully before answering. "Older. And who works in a different place than you do." Tom felt a click in his mind. "Chloe, this friend, did you meet her at my work?" Chloe looked at her plate, avoiding her father's eyes. "Maybe." "Princess, look at me." Tom gently held his daughter's chin. "Did you make a friend at the office?" Chloe sighed. "Promise you won't be mad." "I promise." "Yes, I made a friend, and she's the nicest person in the whole world. She listens to me. She cares about me. She makes me feel special." Tom felt something tighten in his chest. When was the last time he had made Chloe feel special? When was the last time he had really listened to her? "Oh, what's her name?" "Mary." Chloe smiled just saying the name. "She has blonde hair like me and blue eyes like me, and she works cleaning things in your building." So it was the cleaning lady. Tom tried to remember if he had ever spoken to her, probably just a polite good morning when they passed in the hallways. "San, and how long have you been friends?" "For a few weeks." Chloe played with the food on her plate. "Daddy, are you going to forbid our friendship?" The question was like a punch to Tom's gut. His daughter was expecting him to destroy the only friendship she had made, the one thing that was making her truly happy. "Why would I forbid it?" "Because she's different from us. Because she doesn't have money like us. Because she works cleaning things." Chloe spoke softly. "But she's good, Daddy. She's the best person I know." Tom looked at his daughter and saw something that frightened him. Emotional maturity. Chloe, at 6 years old, was defending a friendship based on the person's character, not their social standing. She was showing an understanding of empathy and kindness that many adults lacked. "Tell me about her," Tom said softly. "Tell me why you are friends." Chloe's eyes lit up. "She sees me, Daddy. Really. When I talk to her, she stops everything she's doing and listens to me as if I were the most important person in the world." Tom felt a pang of guilt. How many times had Chloe tried to talk to him, and he had responded with a distracted, looking at his phone or computer. "And she cares about me," Chloe continued. "When I'm sad, she gives me magic hugs that make the sadness go away. And when I tell her stories, she really laughs. She doesn't just laugh to be polite." Tom watched his daughter talk about Mary with a passion and affection he rarely saw when she spoke about other people. It was obvious this friendship meant a lot to her. "Daddy," Chloe said hesitantly, Do you think I can keep being her friend? Tom looked into his daughter's blue eyes, so much like her mother's, and saw a pure happiness he hadn't seen in months. Chloe had found someone who made her feel important, heard, loved. How could he destroy that? Of course you can, princess, he said finally. If she makes you happy, then she must be a very special person. Chloe smiled, and it was as if the sun had appeared in the middle of the kitchen. She is, Daddy. You'll like her when you meet her. Tom felt it might be time to really get to know the woman who had managed to do something that he, as a father, was failing to do. Make his daughter feel truly happy and heard. And maybe it was time to question why a 6-year-old child had found in a cleaning employee the attention and affection she should have been receiving at home. The change in Chloe was no longer a mystery. It was a gift that a stranger had given to his daughter, and Tom was beginning to realize that maybe he had a lot to learn about what really mattered in life. Tom left the meeting with his head full of numbers and charts, but his mind was focused on one thing: finding Chloe and learning more about this mysterious friendship. In the last few days, since he had found out about Mary, he couldn't stop thinking about the genuine happiness he saw in his daughter's eyes. He went down to the room where he had left Chloe, expecting to find her drawing as usual. But when he opened the door, the room was empty. The colored pencils were scattered on the table, some scribbled papers, but no sign of his daughter. Tom sighed. She had escaped again. This time, instead of worrying, he decided to go look for her directly. He already knew where he would find Chloe. He took the elevator to the ground floor and walked toward the lobby, his steps echoing on the marble floor. The sound reached him before he even saw anything. Laughter. Loud, genuine, joyful laughter. A laugh he immediately recognized as Chloe's, but there was another voice too, more mature, laughing along. Tom turned the corner and stopped abruptly. There, sitting on the floor next to the cleaning cart, were Chloe and Mary. His daughter was sitting cross-legged, gesturing excitedly as she told a story. Mary was sitting across from her, with an expression of complete attention and amusement on her face. Between them was a small towel spread on the floor, like an impromptu picnic. Chloe had spread out crackers, an apple cut into slices, and 2 juice boxes. Mary was holding a cracker in her hand and laughing so hard she had to cover her mouth to keep from making too much noise. And then the turtle said to the rabbit, Chloe continued dramatically, "You may be fast, but I'm smart," and she threw a banana in front of him. Mary laughed even harder. Her banana? What a clever turtle. I made up that part, Chloe said proudly. The original story doesn't have a banana, but I think bananas make everything funnier. You're right, my angel. Bananas do make everything funnier. Tom just stood there watching the scene with a mix of feelings he couldn't name. There was something magical about how they interacted. Chloe was completely at ease, more relaxed and happy than he ever saw her at home. And Mary seemed like a completely different person from the silent employee he barely noticed in the hallways. Here, sitting on the floor with his daughter, Mary shone. Her blue eyes were full of life, her face lit by a genuine smile. She paid full attention to every word Chloe said, reacted to every joke, and participated in the conversation as if there were nothing more important in the world. Mary, Chloe said, grabbing another cracker, do you think my daddy would like my stories too? Mary hesitated for a moment. I'm sure he would, sweetie. Your stories are wonderful. But he never has time to listen, Chloe sighed. He's always busy with grown-up stuff. Tom felt as if he had been punched in the gut. Hearing that from his own daughter's mouth, said so naturally, was like looking in a mirror and not liking what he saw. Sometimes daddies get so worried about working to give their children the best that they forget that being together is the best gift of all, Mary said softly. That's what you always tell me, Chloe agreed. That love is more important than things. Tom approached slowly, still unsure how to handle the situation. His first reaction had been to scold, Chloe shouldn't be wandering around the building, she shouldn't be bothering the employees. But seeing the pure happiness on his daughter's face, the words died in his throat. It was Chloe who saw him first. Her eyes widened with surprise and a little fear. "Daddy!" she said, trying to get up quickly. Mary turned too, and Tom saw panic flash across her face. She stood up immediately, smoothing her uniform and trying to fix her hair. "Mr. Peterson, I can explain," Mary began, clearly nervous. I wasn't trying to..." Tom raised his hand, gently interrupting her. "It's okay." He looked at Chloe, who was standing between him and Mary, as if preparing to defend her friend if necessary. There was something touching in the way his small daughter positioned herself, ready to protect someone she clearly loved. "Chloe," Tom said softly, "you shouldn't have left the room." "I know, Daddy, but..." Chloe began. "Thanabati Motiru," Tom continued. "I see you were in good company." Mary looked at him, surprised. She had clearly expected a scolding, maybe even to lose her job for bothering the boss's daughter. Tom moved closer, looking at the remains of the small picnic on the floor. "Were you having a snack?" "Mary hadn't eaten anything yet today," Chloe explained quickly. "So I brought crackers to share with her. It's not wrong to share food, is it, Daddy?" Tom looked at Mary, who had lowered her eyes, clearly embarrassed. "You haven't had lunch?" "I was busy," Mary murmured. "Sometimes I forget to take a break." But Tom saw something in her eyes when she spoke. It wasn't forgetfulness. There was something else there, something he vaguely recognized as resignation. "Daddy," Chloe pulled on the sleeve of his suit. "Mary is my best friend. She tells me stories, listens to me when I'm sad, and always shares her food with me." Tom looked at his daughter, then at Mary, who still seemed to want to disappear from embarrassment. But there was something in the way Chloe talked about this woman, in the way she stood protectively beside her, that touched something deep in his chest. "Mary," he said finally, making her look up, "can I speak with you for a moment?" Mary swallowed hard. "Of course, sir." "Daddy, don't get Mary in trouble," Chloe said quickly. "It's my fault. I'm the one who looks for her. I'm the one who leaves the room without permission." Tom knelt in front of his daughter, getting down to her eye level. "Chloe, you're not in trouble, and neither is Mary." "She's not." "She's not." Tom looked into his daughter's blue eyes, so much like her mother's. "In fact, I want to thank Mary." Mary blinked, confused. "I thank me?" Tom stood up and looked at her directly. It was the first time he had really seen her, not just as another employee, but as a person who had done something extraordinary for his daughter. "You've been good for my daughter." The words came out with a sincerity that surprised even him. They weren't just polite or diplomatic words. They were the pure truth. Mary looked at him, shocked. "Mr. Peterson, in the last few weeks, Chloe has been different," Tom continued. "Happier, more communicative, more alive. And now I understand why." Mary felt her eyes fill with tears. "She's a very special girl, sir. Very affectionate." "She is. And from what I can see, so are you." Chloe looked from one to the other, not fully understanding what was happening, but sensing that something important was being said. Tom looked around, saw a few people passing by and watching the scene with curiosity. "How about we go somewhere more private to talk?" A few minutes later, they were in a small meeting room on the second floor. Tom had sent for coffee and water, and Chloe was sitting next to Mary, holding her hand as if to give her courage. "Mary," Tom began, "forgive me if this sounds intrusive, but Chloe told me that you sometimes go without eating. Is that true?" Mary looked at Chloe, then back at Tom. For a moment, he thought she wouldn't answer. "Mr. Peterson," Mary said finally, "I don't want you to think I'm asking for help or trying to get something. I don't think that. I just want to understand." Mary took a deep breath. Tom saw her hands trembling slightly. "My mother is very sick," she said softly. "Cancer. The medicine she needs. It costs almost my entire salary." Tom felt something tighten in his chest. "And you?" "I manage. I eat what's left over. Sometimes there isn't much left. But," Mary shrugged, "she's my mother, you know. It's what any child would do." The silence that followed was heavy. Tom looked at this woman, whose last name he didn't even know, and saw a strength and resilience that humbled him. She was sacrificing her own nutrition to care for her sick mother, and she did it without complaining, without asking for help, without expecting anyone to care. "How long has your mother been sick?" he asked. "2 years. The doctor said, there's not much more they can do, just keep her comfortable and in less pain." Chloe, who had listened to everything with the seriousness of an adult, turned to her father. "Dad, we could help her, right?" The words came out with a firmness that surprised Tom. It wasn't a shy or hesitant question. It was a statement made with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what the right thing to do was. "Daddy has a lot of money," Chloe continued, looking at Mary, "and you're my best friend. So of course we're going to help." Tom looked at his 6-year-old daughter, who had reduced a complex situation to its simplest essence. Someone they loved needed help, and they were in a position to help. For Chloe, there was no moral debate or social complications. There was only love and need. "Chloe," Mary began, with tears in her eyes. "No, she's right," Tom said, surprising everyone, including himself. "Chloe is absolutely right." Mary looked at him, incredulous. "Mr. Peterson, I can't accept charity." "It's not charity," Tom interrupted her. "You gave my daughter something priceless. You gave her attention, affection, friendship. You made her feel important and heard. That's priceless." He looked at Chloe, who was smiling as if she knew the world was finally making sense. "Besides," Tom continued, "anyone who is capable of sacrificing so much for someone they love deserves to have someone care about them too." Mary began to cry silently, not from sadness but from relief. After years of carrying everything alone, someone was offering help. Someone cared. "I don't even know what to say," she murmured. "You don't have to say anything," Tom replied. "Just accept that we want to help." Chloe got up and hugged Mary. "Now you won't be hungry anymore. And your mommy will get better with the medicine." Tom watched his daughter comfort an adult, offering hope with the simplicity only children possess, and he realized that, in a few weeks of friendship with Mary, Chloe had learned more about empathy and compassion than he had taught her in 6 years. Maybe it was time to start learning some lessons from his own daughter. "Mary," he said, "besides the medicine for your mother, I want you to start having lunch every day. And I want Chloe to continue being your friend, if you both want that." "Of course we do," Chloe exclaimed. "Forever." Mary looked at Tom with a gratitude that went far beyond words. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not forbidding our friendship. Thank you for understanding." "Thank you," Tom replied, "for showing me that my daughter has a much bigger heart than I imagined, and for taking care of her when I wasn't paying attention." In that small meeting room, 3 people from completely different worlds found something in common: their love for a little child who had managed to bring their lives together in a way none of them had foreseen. And Tom realized that his daughter had just taught him the greatest lesson of his life about what really mattered in the world. Tom had been lying in bed for over 2 hours, staring at the dark ceiling of his room. The digital clock read 2:34 a.m., but his brain refused to rest. Chloe's words echoed in his mind like a broken record. "Dad, we could help her, right?" He turned on his side, trying to find a comfortable position, but he couldn't stop thinking about the way his daughter had said those words. There was no hesitation, no doubt. For Chloe, helping Mary was the most obvious thing in the world. When had he lost that simplicity? When had it become so complicated for him to see the world through such clear lenses? Tom got out of bed and walked to the window. The city slept below, just a few scattered lights in the buildings and the occasional movement of cars on the street. It was a silence he knew well, a silence that had accompanied him since childhood. childhood. Tom closed his eyes and, for the first time in years, allowed the memories to surface. He had been a lonely child too. His parents were successful, worked a lot, always too busy to sit down and really talk to him. He spent entire afternoons alone at home, with nannies who did the bare minimum, waiting for his parents to come home from work. And when they came home, they brought gifts, expensive toys, designer clothes, everything money could buy. But they never brought what he wanted most: attention. "I'm giving my son everything I never had," his father used to say to friends. And technically he was right. Tom had had a bigger house, better toys, more expensive schools. But he hadn't had what he truly desired: someone to sit with him and really listen. Tom opened his eyes and looked towards Chloe's room at the end of the hall. He was doing the same thing to her, wasn't he? Giving her expensive gifts, paying for the best school, buying everything she asked for. But when was the last time he had sat on the floor with her and just talked? When was the last time he had asked how she was really feeling? The answer hit him like a punch. He couldn't remember. Tom walked quietly to Chloe's room and opened the door slowly. She was sleeping peacefully, her blonde hair spread across the pillow, a small smile on her face even in her sleep. On the nightstand, there was a drawing she had made that afternoon. Two figures holding hands, one tall and one short, both smiling. In crooked letters, it was written, "Me and Mary." He sat carefully on the edge of the bed, watching his daughter sleep. Chloe had found in a stranger the attention she should have been receiving from him. She had found in Mary someone who listened to her, who cared about her feelings, who made her feel special. And what did that say about him as a father? Tom remembered the conversation with Mary that afternoon, the way she talked about Chloe, the genuine affection in her voice, the way she knew details about the girl's feelings that he was completely unaware of. "She's very affectionate," Mary had said, "and very smart. Her stories are wonderful." What stories? Tom realized he had no idea what stories Chloe made up. He didn't know who her favorite characters were, didn't know what made her laugh, didn't know what made her sad. A cleaning employee knew his daughter better than he did. Tom left Chloe's room and went down to the kitchen. He made a cup of coffee, even though he knew it would only worsen his insomnia, and sat at the table where they had breakfast together every morning. But was together the right word? They were physically in the same place, but Tom was always looking at his phone, answering emails, thinking about the day's schedule. When Chloe spoke, he would murmur automatic responses without really paying attention, exactly as his parents had done with him. The realization was like a stab wound. He had sworn he would be different, that he would be the father he wished he had had, but he had become exactly what he criticized. Tom picked up his phone and looked at the next day's schedule. Meeting at 9 a.m., conference at 11 a.m., business lunch at 1 p.m., more meetings until 6 p.m. Every day was like this, an endless sequence of professional commitments, each seemingly more important than the last. But were they really more important than Chloe? The image of his daughter asking if they could help Mary returned to his mind. The firmness in her voice, the absolute certainty that helping someone in need was the right thing to do. Where had she learned that? Certainly not from him. Mary. Chloe had learned about compassion and empathy from Mary. Tom thought about the story Mary had told about her sick mother, about how she spent almost her entire salary on medicine, about how she sometimes went without food, and yet she had never asked for help, never complained, never used her situation to gain an advantage. She simply did what she thought was right, taking care of the person she loved, even if it meant personal sacrifice. And Chloe had seen that. His 6-year-old daughter had recognized genuine goodness and had connected with it in a way Tom had never managed to connect with anyone at work. Tom got up and walked to the living room, where family photos were scattered on the bookshelf. He picked up a photo of when Chloe was a baby, still in her mother's arms. Susan was smiling, looking at her daughter with a love so pure it was visible in the photograph. "Take good care of her," Susan had murmured in the hospital a few days before she died. "She's going to need a lot of love," Tom had promised. He had sworn he would be the best father possible, but he was failing miserably. He had focused so much on giving Chloe financial security, a quality education, opportunities he never had, that he had forgotten to give her the most basic and important thing of all, his presence. Tom went back to the kitchen and opened his laptop. He looked at the accumulated emails, the spreadsheets he needed to review, the reports he needed to analyze. It all seemed so important a few hours ago. Now, it seemed insignificant compared to what really mattered. He closed the laptop, and the next day he would do things differently. He would cancel some meetings, delegate some tasks, reorganize his priorities. Chloe was growing up too fast, and he was missing precious moments that would never come back. Tom remembered something Mary had said that afternoon. Sometimes daddies get so worried about working to give their children the best that they forget that being together is the best gift of all. She was right, completely right. Tom thought about the friendship between Chloe and Mary, how it had developed naturally, based only on mutual attention and affection. There were no expensive gifts or elaborate activities. There were just two people who genuinely cared for each other. That's what he wanted with Chloe, a real connection, based on conversation, on genuine interest, on true presence. Tom went back to his room, but before getting into bed, he stopped at Chloe's door one more time. She was still sleeping peacefully, still with that little smile on her face. "I promise I'll be better," he whispered in the silence. "I promise I'll really see you, listen to you, get to know you." It was a promise made to a sleeping child, but Tom knew it was also a promise to himself, to the father he wanted to be, to the man Susan hoped he would be. Chloe had found in Mary what was missing at home. Now it was time for Tom to figure out how to give that to her too. Not to replace Mary, he had seen how important that friendship was to Chloe, but to complement it, to be the present father she deserved to have. The image of Chloe asking to help Mary wouldn't leave his head, and Tom finally understood why. It wasn't just about helping a person in need. It was about his daughter showing him the kind of person she was becoming, despite his lack of attention. Chloe was growing up with a kind heart, a generous soul, a natural empathy, and she was doing it on her own, learning these lessons from a cleaning lady who cared enough to really see her. Tom finally lay down, but now it wasn't anxiety keeping him awake. It was determination. The determination to be the father Chloe deserved, to learn from the example his own daughter was setting, to value what really mattered in life. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow he would start building with Chloe the kind of relationship she already had with Mary, based on attention, affection, and true presence. It was the least he could do for his extraordinary daughter, who had managed to see the goodness in the world, even when he had failed to show it to her at home. The following Friday, Tom waited until all the employees had left. The office was nearly empty, with only a few lights still on in the hallways. He knew Mary worked late, doing the final cleaning of the day. He found her on the 10th floor, organizing her cart after she finished vacuuming the carpets. She seemed surprised to see him. "Mr. Peterson, is something wrong?" "No, nothing's wrong." Tom approached. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you if you have a few minutes." Mary looked around, clearly nervous. "Of course, sir. Did I do something wrong?" "No, Mary, quite the opposite." Tom gestured toward one of the meeting rooms. "Can we sit for a bit?" A few minutes later, they were sitting in a small room, a cup of coffee in front of each of them. Mary held hers with both hands, as if she needed the warmth to calm herself. "Mary," Tom began, "I wanted to know more about you, about your life, your family." "My life isn't very interesting, sir," Mary replied shyly, looking down at her cup. "It is to Chloe, and anything that's important to my daughter is important to me too." Mary smiled slightly. "Chloe is a very special child." "Tell me about your mother," Tom said softly. "How is her treatment going?" Mary took a deep breath before answering. "She's 73. The cancer started in her stomach, but now it has spread. The doctors said there's not much more they can do besides manage the pain. That must be very difficult for both of you." It's hard to see her suffer, Mary admitted, her voice growing weaker. But she's strong, always has been. Raised 4 kids on her own after my father died. So I'm the only one left in the city, and how are you both coping with it? We do what we can. Mary spoke without self-pity, just stating the facts. I work, take care of her when I get home, take her to appointments on the weekends. The medications are expensive, but she's my mother, you know, she took care of me my whole life. Now it's my turn. Tom watched Mary speak. There was a quiet dignity in the way she described her situation. There was no dramatization, no attempt to evoke pity. Do you have help from other family members? My siblings live far away. They send a little money when they can, but they have their own families. Mary shrugged. I manage. And you? How are you taking care of yourself? Mary gave a sad smile. I'm fine. A little tired sometimes, but I'm fine. Mary, can I ask a personal question? She nodded. How long has it been since you did something just for yourself? Something that makes you happy? Mary was silent for a long moment. Talking with Chloe makes me happy, she said finally. Hearing her stories, seeing how she sees the world, that gives me the energy to keep going. Tom felt his chest tighten. Chloe is lucky to have you as a friend. I'm the lucky one, sir. She reminds me that there's still good in the world. Mary, you never married. Had children of your own? Mary shook her head. I never married. I've always taken care of my mother. When I was younger, I dated a few times, but the men didn't understand that my mother came first. Tom saw a deep sadness pass through Mary's eyes, a woman who had sacrificed her own chances at happiness. When they left the office, Tom had made a decision. Mary, can I visit you over the weekend? I'd like to meet your mother, if she wouldn't mind. Mary looked shocked. Sir, our home is very simple. We don't have anything fancy. I'm not looking for fancy, Mary. I want to meet the family of my daughter's friend. And Chloe? I'd like to bring Chloe too, if that's okay. Mary's eyes lit up. Chloe would like to come to my house. I'm sure she would. On Saturday morning, Tom and Chloe stood in front of an old building downtown. The paint was peeling, but the building seemed well kept. Chloe was holding a drawing she had made especially for Mary's mother and a small basket of fruit. Is this where Mary lives, Daddy? Chloe asked, looking up at the building. It is, Princess. It's different from our house. It is. But what matters is the love inside the home. They walked up 2 flights of stairs to a small apartment on the 2nd floor. Mary opened the door with a nervous smile, wearing her best dress. Please, come in. Forgive the simplicity. Tom looked around. The apartment was tiny, but impeccably clean. The furniture was old but well cared for. A small sofa with handmade cushions, a table for 2, a bookshelf with books and family photos. There were flowers in small vases on the windowsill and little ornaments scattered around the room. Everything was arranged with care. What a beautiful house, Chloe exclaimed, running to the window. Look, Daddy, you can see the park. And there are kids playing. Mary smiled, clearly relieved. It's the best view in the apartment. My mother likes to watch the children play. Can I meet her? Of course, sweetie. She's been looking forward to meeting you. They entered the only bedroom in the apartment. It was small but cozy. A white-haired lady was lying in a bed made with clean sheets and a colorful quilt. Her eyes lit up when she saw Chloe. So this is the famous Chloe, Mary's mother said in a weak but warm voice. Mary talks about you all the time. Hi, Mrs. Chloe looked at Mary. Rosa. You can call me Grandma Rosa if you like. Hi, Grandma Rosa. Chloe approached without hesitation. I brought you a drawing. It's a magic flower that makes the pain go away. Mrs. Rosa held the drawing with trembling hands. It's the most beautiful drawing I've ever seen, dear. I'm going to put it here on the wall, right in front of my bed. Tom watched from the corner of the room, deeply moved. The simplicity of the scene touched him in an unexpected way. There was no expensive medical equipment or private nurses, just a daughter caring for her mother with all the love and limited resources she had. Mary had improvised a small table next to the bed with all the medications organized by time. There were notes in a notebook about symptoms, a small fan to keep the room cool, and a chair where she probably spent her nights. "Mary told me you're very smart," Mrs. Rosa said to Chloe, "and that you tell wonderful stories. Do you want me to tell you one?" "I'd love that. It's been a long time since I've heard a good story." As Chloe told a story about a brave princess who took care of everyone in the kingdom, Tom watched Mary. She was watching the scene with tears in her eyes, moved to see her mother smiling. "She doesn't smile much lately," Mary whispered to Tom. "The pain is very strong. But look how happy she is with Chloe." Tom looked around again. The contrast between that apartment and his spacious house was stark, but there was something there that his house lacked, a palpable sense of love and mutual care. Every object had been placed with Mrs. Rosa's comfort in mind. "Mary," Tom said softly, "can I speak with you in the kitchen?" In the tiny kitchen, Tom got straight to the point. "I want to really help, not just with money, but with everything your mother needs." Mary opened her mouth to protest, but Tom continued, "I've already scheduled an appointment with the best oncologist in the city for Monday. I want your mother to have access to the best treatments available, even if it's just to reduce the pain." "Mr. Peterson, I can't accept this." "Mary, look at your daughter," Tom said, gesturing toward the room where Chloe was still telling stories, and Mrs. Rosa was laughing softly. "Chloe found in you something I failed to give her. You made her feel seen, heard, important. Let me repay that." Mary began to cry silently. "I don't know how to thank you." "It's not kindness, Mary. It's justice. Good people like you deserve help when they need it." The following Monday, Tom put his plan into action. He transferred Mary to an administrative position in the Human Resources Department with a better salary and flexible hours. He arranged for home medical care for Mrs. Rosa and ensured all medications were provided by the company. When Mary found out about all the changes, she sought Tom out in his office. She was crying when she entered. "Mr. Peterson, I can't believe this is happening. Because Chloe taught me to see what really matters, and what matters are people like you. Say you'll accept the help without feeling guilty." Mary nodded, unable to speak. "And Mary, I want Chloe to continue being your friend. But now, officially, you can come for dinner at our house whenever you want, and Chloe can visit you whenever she wants to. She'll love to hear that." That afternoon, when Chloe discovered all the changes, she ran through the office until she found Mary and hugged her tightly. "Now Grandma Rosa will get better," she said with absolute confidence. "And you won't be sad anymore." Mary held Chloe in her lap, crying with gratitude. "You are my little angel. Only you saw me when no one else cared. Only you saw that I was a person, not just someone who cleans things." "I will always care about you," Chloe replied, hugging Mary tightly. "Always, always, always. And I will always care about you too, my love. You changed my life." Tom watched the two of them hug and felt that he had finally done something right. Not just as a businessman, but as a father. He had listened to his daughter, valued her feelings, and acted based on what she considered important. For the first time in a long time, Tom felt he was on the right path. Not just to help Mary, but to be the father Chloe deserved. A father who saw the world through her eyes, who valued the people she loved. The friendship between Chloe and Mary had changed all their lives. And Tom was finally beginning to understand that the most important lessons don't come from books or business meetings, but from the pure heart of a child who sees kindness where others see only invisibility. It was just the beginning of a journey that would transform not only their lives, but the way he saw the world and his role in it. 3 months had passed since Tom discovered the special friendship between Chloe and Mary. The office had transformed into a different place for all of them. The change was visible even to the other employees, who now greeted Mary by name and smiled when they saw Chloe in the hallways. Mary no longer had to hide her friendship with Chloe. On the contrary, it had become an official part of the girls' routine. Now, when Tom brought Chloe to the office, she would spend part of her time drawing in his office and part visiting Mary in her new office in the Human Resources Department. "Daddy, can I go see Mary?" Chloe asked on a Thursday morning, already putting her colored pencils back in her backpack. "Of course, Princess, but remember what we talked about regarding times?" "I remember, only until lunchtime, and then I'll come back to be with you." Chloe smiled. "Mary said she's going to teach me how to make paper origami today." Tom watched his daughter practically skip out with excitement. The change in her was visible to anyone who knew her. Chloe was more communicative, more confident, happier, and Tom knew exactly why. He himself had changed. Since that night of reflection, Tom had completely reorganized his priorities. He came home earlier, delegated more tasks, and most importantly, created moments to really talk with Chloe. He discovered his daughter had an extraordinary imagination, full of creative stories and captivating characters. Tom walked to the Human Resources Department and stopped at the door of Mary's office. The scene he saw made him smile. Chloe was sitting in Mary's chair, who was kneeling on the floor beside her, teaching the girl how to fold a piece of paper into the shape of a bird. "Now fold this little tip inward," Mary instructed patiently. "That's it. You're so smart, Chloe." "I learned from you," Chloe replied, concentrating. "You always teach me cool things, and you always teach me important things too." "Like what?" Mary thought for a moment. "You taught me that age doesn't matter when it comes to true friendship. You taught me that sometimes children see the world more clearly than adults." Tom leaned against the doorframe, watching unnoticed. It was fascinating to see how Mary talked to Chloe, treating her like a whole person whose opinions were important. "Mary," Chloe said suddenly, "do you think my daddy has changed?" "Why are you asking that, sweetie?" "Because he's different, more present. Before he was always busy. Now he sits with me for dinner and really talks." "And how do you feel about that change?" "Very happy. It's like I got a new daddy, but he's still the same daddy." Chloe frowned, searching for the right words. "You know when you clean a really dirty window and suddenly you can see through it clearly? That's how I feel." The comparison touched Tom deeply. That was exactly what had happened. He had cleaned the windows of his life and could finally see what truly mattered. Tom knocked lightly on the door. "May I interrupt?" "Daddy," Chloe ran to him. "Look at the bird I made." Tom examined the origami with genuine admiration. "It's beautiful, Princess. You're getting very good at this." That afternoon, when they returned home, Tom and Chloe stopped at the park on their way. It was something Tom had started doing recently, small detours to create special moments together. They sat on a bench and watched other children play. Chloe," Tom said, turning to look at his daughter, "can I tell you something important?" "Of course, Daddy." Tom knelt before his daughter, getting to her eye level. "I see your mother's kindness in you. You are becoming a very special girl." Chloe's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? The way you care about others, the way you saw Mary when no one else did, how you have such a big heart." Tom felt his eyes sting. "Your mother would be very proud of the person you're becoming." Chloe smiled and threw herself into her father's arms. "Thank you, Daddy. And you've changed too. Now you really see me." "Daddy," Chloe said, still in the hug, "can I tell you a secret?" "You can." "I knew you loved me, even when you were always busy. I just needed you to know that I needed you close to me too." Tom tightened the hug. His 6-year-old daughter had managed to express something many adults struggle to understand. That love is not just a feeling, but also a presence. The following week, Tom was in his office when he heard laughter coming from the hallway. He got up and walked to the door. There were Chloe and Mary sitting on the floor by the window, sharing cookies and making up stories about the people passing by on the street. "That man in the blue suit is a detective," Chloe was saying, pointing to the window. He's on the case of the missing cookie. Mary laughed out loud. And that lady in red is the cookie thief. Tom watched the two of them, and in that moment he had a complete revelation. The greatest lesson in humanity he had ever received came from his 6-year-old daughter. Chloe had taught him that seeing people, really seeing them, was one of the most powerful acts there was. Tom smiled, went back to his desk and canceled